7-on-7 is going on. State 7-on-7 is coming up this weekend. I know you'll be down in College Station for a little bit.
Yes.
Matt Stepp, DCTF High School Football Insider, will be down there for a little bit. Another guy who will be, at the very least, keeping an eye on the goings-on down there is the head coach of the Bonham Purple Warriors. We are joined by Coach Tony Johnson. Coach, how are you?
I'm doing well, Greg. How are you?
Excellent. Appreciate you taking a little bit of time to chat with us. I know that I know you're fired up because Bonham is in the state 7-on-7 tournament for the first time in program history. I know that with the UIL regulations, you're not allowed to really be involved with that. But for you, what does this mean for your program, both in 2017 and beyond?
Well, it just validates the system that my coaches and myself put in place, that we're trying to build a program the right way and do the things that you do to, show kids what they have to do to compete and be competitive year in and year out. And every year is a new step. And the kids took it last year and, didn't qualify, and really wanted to go back this year and try to qualify. And having done that, it just validates again what we're doing and what we're trying to build. So yeah, it's an exciting time for Bonham, and I just hope our fans and our student body, kids, everybody appreciate the hard work that our coaches are putting into making this happen.
And I know that you guys, as I mentioned, the UIL kind of prohibits you guys from being involved, but when you're watching 7-on-7 and you're watching your kids out there, what are you looking for? What do you want to see from them that would constitute success? Obviously, winning games is great, but from a deeper perspective, what do you want to see from your players?
You're watching, for me personally, this is my 24th year coaching, and when you're building a program that's been down, you're looking for the competitive juice, how quickly someone bounces up, body language. You're looking at those types of things, how they respond to adversity. Those are the types of things you're looking for in these types of games. We all know that, 7-on-7 isn't going to be like it is on Friday nights in the fall. So, but for us, we want to see guys, make great plays on the ball. We want to see positioning, body positioning. Those are the athletic things you're looking for, running crisp routes. But for me, it's a little deeper. I'm looking at that body language. I'm looking at kids that, if they get beat on a route or something bad happens, how they respond, and the little things that are the character flaws that I think we don't always preach about, but should be preaching about as coaches in today's society.
And I do want to ask you, because you're an offensive line guy. That's your bread and butter. That's where you make your hay. And so out there watching wide receivers and quarterbacks, is there a little bit of you that's like, oh man, I wish we could just hit in the trenches?
Yeah, absolutely. I hate to see the ball in the air. The guys on the offensive side of the ball, they love watching me. I'm competitive like anybody else, so I can't sit still, and it's the Italian in me, I think. But I'm constantly up and back and forth and moving around. But I'm like you, man. Let's just run the ball. Get out of here.
We're talking with Bonham head coach Tony Johnson here on DCTF Live. Get involved with the conversation, hashtag DCTF Live. Coach, I want to go back to last year. Obviously, you guys, I think that I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I don't think you were hoping for a 2-9 season. But at the same time, you guys did get that playoff game, and you hung tough with Wills Point there in the playoff game. You mentioned you're building a program, and I know that there's a lot. I think you can speak to kind of a big debate going on in high school football circles. They say, oh, too many teams make the playoffs. Why are we letting all these teams in? Can you kind of speak a little bit about how important it was for your program to just get that playoff experience, to get that win or go home experience under their belt?
Absolutely, and allow me to speak to that for a second here and paint this picture for you. I've been at Duncanville, and I've been at South Grand Prairie and TCU, and places that win predominantly a lot of games, and it's expected, and kids show up in your program. Well, when I came to Bonham, they hadn't had much success in the last 5 or 6 years. There were spurts here and there, and that's nobody's fault. Towns ebb and flow, small towns ebb and flow. With growth, and et cetera. And there wasn't a culture of, we're going to stay after weights and throw and catch. We're going to have perfect attendance and summer conditioning. Those expectations, I think, had kind of fallen by the wayside unintentionally. Again, nobody's fault, sure, but it did, and it wasn't a priority. And so for us, we've made it a priority. And, I wrote an article that got picked up by USA Today last year on how proud I was. I didn't lose a single coach from the first year to the second year. Now, you think about that, Greg, you go 0-10, and the team you inherited had gone 0-20, whatever, and you know, you've got kids in the hallways asking, why do I want to do that? Why do I want to run? Why do I want to lift weights? Why do I want to be involved in all this stuff that is going to cause my body physical pain and I don't get any reward? And I think that is a societal problem in today's athletics. It shows itself more in the 4A, 3A, 2A programs than it does in Duncanville or South Grand Prairie, where if a kid quits playing football his sophomore year because he doesn't want to do it, there's 12 guys at his position. And that kid quits on me his sophomore year, I'm in trouble, you know, in a town like, you know, because now I'm looking at 6'5" walking the hallway, and he had a bad experience. So for us, getting to win some games, and we were competitive in every game last year. You know, great compliment from Bill Elliott at Salina, who I have a tremendous amount of respect for. You know, he said that's the best Bonham football team he's seen since he's been the head football coach at Salina. And I took that as a compliment. And, you know, we battled in every game last year. And, you know, you mentioned Will's point. We outgained him over 300 yards and lost a ball game. But our kids have to learn to win. Our kids have to learn to be hungry to advance and be in those playoffs and develop those traits that are necessary that I think carry you past football. I mean, that's why high school athletics are so important. And when people say, as you said, there are too many teams in the playoffs, it's watered down, man, you are not seeing the smiles and the joys on the faces of these, you know, 40, 50 kids on your roster that are realizing when you come together and you have a common goal and you work for it, you overcome adversity, what those blessings mean and what that can do to you moving forward in business, as a husband, and in life. And so that's why it's important to me.
We're talking with Tony Johnson. Kickslide on Twitter at DCTF Live. Get involved in the conversation. Hashtag DCTF Live. So let's look forward. Let's look forward to past 7-on-7. I know you're excited about what's going on in College Station, but we're all really excited about what's coming up in September. You got a fair amount of your talent back, especially from the starting spots. You got a couple of exciting youngsters coming up. I know you're very excited about Tyler Rodriguez, your junior quarterback and strong safety. Tell us about what to expect from this Bonham team. I mean, you guys run a flex bone offense, so it's maybe not predicated on those individual stars, but what can we expect from Purple Warrior football in 2017?
Well, I think we'll continue to build on our speed. We were quick last year. I think we're even faster this year. Again, in a place like Bonham, there's not a tremendous amount of depth, and so you got to hope to stay healthy, you know, and lose one guy and it could be detrimental. But you're right. You mentioned Tyler, Hayden Stevenson, Warren Mason, guys like that are just, they're burners, and they're all juniors and they're track guys and they can run. We got a kid that's a big fullback again, just like we had last year, a move-in who named Ty Bateman from Honeygrove, he's going to be special, I think, for us as well. So we're excited about all those things. But for us, I think you're going to see a tremendous amount of speed. I'm hopeful we'll play better defense. That's been our Achilles heel the last 2 years. Breaking in a new defensive coordinator this year. He's been on my staff in John Ramsey. But I'm blessed. I've got great coaches. There are over I think we figured it out the other day, there's right at 200 years experience on my staff and total experience. And so I've got two former head coaches. I've got guys that have coached at Katy and won state championships. I got guys that are on my staff that love football, and they make my job so much easier. You know, I didn't even get to go to this last qualifier because we had a family reunion and a wedding I had to be at in Kansas City, and it was incredible to see the staff get the kids where they needed to be, get them organized, and get them there without me having to be there. And of course, texting me every 10 seconds with what's going on. So I was on pins and needles. But, yeah, I think that's some of the things you'll see out of our football team. We're going to be better in the special teams game. My kicker last year made 5 out of 6 field goals. He was a sophomore. His leg is stronger. He's kicking every day. I expect our kicking game to improve. So a lot of pieces still missing. Our line doesn't have a lot of depth, but you know, we've got 2 6'5" kids that are actively getting, you know, looked at. I wouldn't say recruited's the right word, but a lot of interest because of their length and their size. But if we can develop some depth and stay healthy, I'm excited about you know, this season. But you know as well as I do, look at our schedule. I mean, Aubrey, Melissa may be the best team in Texas in 4A, and Salina, you know, and Anna right down the road. Those are not easy games for us.
You're exactly right. It's a very tough district. You'll have to earn your way into the playoffs, and that's another reason to go back to what we were talking about how, people say too many teams make the playoffs. Well, tell that to this district where you've got to go up against those teams week in and week out. Now, you mentioned, that's all nice, talking football, whatever. Let's get to the real purpose of bringing you on.
Okay.
You are an advocate, I would say, for Kansas City barbecue. And this is of course, barbecue is important business here in the state of Texas.
It's true.
And Kansas City barbecue may not necessarily jive with Texas barbecue. Tell us why you are so pro Kansas City barbecue.
Okay, well, first of all, it's the best barbecue in the world. Sorry.
Oh, wow. Okay. Shots fired on Dave Campbell's Texas Football Live, streaming on TexasFootball.com. I don't know. I'm just that's fine.
The largest barbecue contest in the world takes place where? Kansas City.
In Kansas City. That's absolutely correct.
That is true. And if you Google top 10 barbecue restaurants in the world, there's going to be one or two from Kansas City, Missouri, one or two from Kansas City, Kansas on that list. Mm-hmm. Now, there is great barbecue in Texas, don't get me wrong. Mm-hmm. But I'm much like a Texan is born with a football in his crib.
Sure. Yeah.
I think a Kansas Cityan is born with a bottle of barbecue sauce and a basketball.
Probably,
yeah, maybe some ribs.
Some ribs, some burn ins. That's what it is.
Yes.
All right, so then I want to know.
Sauce. It's the sauce.
It is the sauce.
I get it. It's the sauce, and Max is a Kansas City barbecue fan. Max, you're a barbecue just across the board guy.
I love barbecue,
generalist.
but having lived in Kansas City as well, I am partial, but I would still go Texas.
Okay, so now I want to ask you,
Max.
when you're in,
sorry, man,
when you go to Kansas City, what's your go-to place? What is your go-to place, and maybe what's your go-to order?
Okay, well, that's a great question but I like the little hole-in-the-wall places that aren't necessarily going to show up on any list. Mm-hmm. But the ones you'll know on a list, if you're a barbecue guy, Joe's Kansas City is probably the best, and Jack Stack Fiorella's. Mm-hmm. Those two, if you want to take, if you want to take someone, who's visiting Kansas City for the first time, you're going to those two places.
Yeah.
If you want to be a traditionalist, you're going to Gates and Sons or Arthur Bryant's, which Joe Carter of the Blue Jays, when they won the World Series, flew Arthur Bryant's entire company up to Toronto and fed them Gates and Sons. Arthur Bryant's barbecue. What does that tell you?
Yeah.
Little things like that. I prefer. There's a sandwich at Joe's Kansas City called the Z-Man.
The Z-Man, yes, sir. I've had it.
I love the Z-Man. Mm-hmm. And if I don't get the Z-Man, my other go-to thing is just a burn-in dinner or burn-in sandwich. I love that. Now in Texas, I love Angelo's in Fort Worth. Mm-hmm. I love Hutchins Barbecue in McKinney, and I really like Railhead Barbecue in Fort Worth. Mm-hmm. And that's a unique. Those are all different styles. Mm-hmm. And I would tell you Lockhart Barbecue would be the other one. Okay. Those are my 4 choices in Texas.
All right. He's Tony Johnson. He's Tony Johnson on Twitter at Kickslide. I'm gonna get
hate messages.
He's a good follow on Twitter, even though he's bad. He's wrong on barbecue, but we will forgive him. We'll forgive him.
Texans do steak so well. Can't you guys?
Oh, here we go. Oh, listen to this backtracking now. My goodness, Coach, appreciate your time. Congratulations to your team's success in 7-on-7. Go win a title down there in College Station, and we'll be talking down the road.
Thanks for having me on, Greg. Take care, guys.
Take care. There he goes, Tony Johnson, head coach of the Bonham Purple Warriors. Right on football, wrong on barbecue.